Welcome back to the Titanium Hanger. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope everybody is doing well today. Today I want to talk to you about Masterpiece Transformers and why it's more fun than G1. I'm going to get into it. I know that I've kind of gone on record for making negative comments about G1 toys, but I'm going to get into why I love them so much as a kid, even though I knew they all had some shortcomings. But G1 Transformers back in 1984 was pretty amazing. But why is it that nowadays Masterpiece Transformers is just flat out more fun? What are we doing to have more fun with these figures? Why is it more fun than back when we were a kid? Well, I'll discuss that. I'll go into it. I got a handful of points here, and I'm sure you guys can add to the conversation too. Coming up. So we have to start out by talking about the fact that Transformers itself, as a franchise, was fun because of the fact that the show was successful. The show was great. It was a great show. Would we say it holds up to today? Yes. I'll say that it's one of the shows from the 80s, one of the concepts that still holds up today, and I think there's millions of people that agree with me. Now, the thing about it was that it actually progressed, and it changed for the better or for worse as it went, but it did one thing. It captured the imagination of kids everywhere, starting in 1984 all the way through to, well, I'll get into the year I think I tapped out. I think I figured the year I tapped out of Transformers. But all of this stuff was so much fun. To watch the show, to enjoy the show, to be part of the show. Well, the only real way to be part of the show was actually buy the toys. As exciting as the toys were, to find that toy, it's almost like archaeology. We found the Grail. Every Transformer in 1984 that you get your hands on was a Grail. It was new. It was cutting edge. It was something different. Well, it was different than GoBots because it was bigger. G1 Transformers were fun toys, but we had to fill in the gaps with our imagination. We had to pretend Wheeljack actually had two separate legs, not two legs connected by a bunch of bars. That was a problem that plagued most of the Carbots of the era, and we filled in the gap with our imagination. They could never run. They could stand there and their arms moved, and we had to fill in the rest with our own imaginations. And as time went by, they became more of bricks. Now, there were some good ones that had good articulation. This doesn't change my fondness. And I've got to tell you, with what I do with my G1s, it doesn't matter if they have 2-4 POA, because I kind of just leave them on the shelf. But the G1 figures did have some serious limitations. For the most part, they were 75% of them just had a little bit of arm movement, maybe some head movement. Now, part of the problem was I tapped out in 89. I think halfway through 88, I was just kind of done with Transformers. There was so much else to move on to, but the direction they were going was not appealing to me. But it's odd, because I stopped buying this stuff, but I still wanted to watch the show all the time. I looked everywhere, high and low, to watch the show, even though I didn't want to buy any of these new toys. Enter Masterpiece Transformers. Why is it more fun? I'll have to say I felt this fun when I got MP01. MP01 was fun. It's where the fun begins, right? Well, you got to do some different things with them, and we're going to start with accessories. As you can see right here, we've got the obligatory Energon axe that you always get, but did you have that with your G1? No. You got to hold Megatron in Prime's hand, but of course in Starscream's hand later on down the road. And with that, you started opening up a whole new world of fun. Yes, and it still maintained diecast at that time. There was a lot of fun to be had with these figures, with the posing, the Matrix chamber open in the Matrix, and all of that. You know, some of the fun of collecting Masterpiece Transformers is getting these accessories. Now, I know the joke is it's that one thing from that one episode, the Immobilizer. Is this one the Immobilizer? I think this is the Immobilizer. But you get the one thing from the one show. And, oh, look, his legs, he has 2 legs. They're not connected by bars. So it starts getting more fun. But for me personally, it's like, I don't remember the immobilizer. Let me go find it. I find it, watch the episode. I find that fun also. These accessories are really great inclusions, even though I usually leave them in the box. I'm curious where it came from. Where did they get the idea from? Just like with Hoist, is this called the Solar Tower? I believe they call it the Solar Tower. Now, I do remember it in the episode, but these accessories are fun. You can bring the one episode, maybe it was an episode that you really enjoyed, and you can bring it to life. Can you believe that Cup's got a cigar? It's so wild. It's crazy. Don't lose that cigar. It's a tough one if you lose it. But I think the X-Transbot cigar is actually molded into the face versus Fans Toys, which is they give you 2 tiny accessories you could possibly lose. When it comes to X-Transbot's Jansen, I'm not 100% sure I remember him using vials and stuff, but I do remember that in the beginning of the Transformers 1986 movie. But there's other things like getting those minifigures. That's really interesting. Stuff that we're doing in the Masterpiece now, these inclusions, these accessories, they're technically free. You gotta buy the whole figure to get it. You gotta spend your 120, 30, whatever to get the figure. But then these little minifigures are free inclusions, and they're very impressive. It is a lot of fun. It's actually sparking a new class of collecting. I'm surprised we haven't gotten more of these, like 10 packs. We can get Bugles. It's the Bugle Wars have begun. It wasn't initially included with X-Transbots because Fans Toys did it, X-Transbots did it. It's a back and forth, but that is kind of a fun scene, and you couldn't do it with your G1 figures, but you can definitely do it. You almost have to now with your Masterpiece Transformers. Now, I will say that as time goes by and we get 8 different Optimus Primes, they all seem to get packed with the same accessories, so it does become redundant. It does get old, it does become redundant, but when my Fans Toys Marge was sent without a Matrix, I was bothered. I wanted that Matrix, and Shozy got it for me. I got my Matrix. Next up is the Articulation. Now, I've already touched on it in a way, but it's vastly greater than it ever was. As time has gone by, Transformers has the Masterpiece scale. The Articulation is going so far, partially because some of the stuff is actually engineered into the actual engineering, the transformation. Some of it, they had to go out of the way to put that in there. A lot of, I think, MP44, the ultimate goal with that figure was to make it the most articulated figure at that time. I think we've seen some other figures that have that level of articulation since then, but I think that it's just really easy to find MP44 pictures that sort of show the articulation advancement. But with that, you get something way better than we had back in the day. And whether you want to admit it or not, the lack of articulation back when we were kids was a problem. And yes, you had to fill in the gap with your imagination. Now your imagination is, what pose could I get it in? Now, obviously, looking at them side by side, you're going to get a ton more articulation and a ton more fun out of Wheeljack. And I really don't want to get into the transformation, talking about transformations, because the end result of a great looking, almost perfect, and I will not say this Wheeljack's perfect. Nothing's perfect. There are a few things I don't like about this, like the kibble on the arms and a few other things about the figure. Overall, it's a solid figure, but it absolutely blows away the original G1. And the transformation isn't really that bad. It's earlier Takara transformations were relatively simplistic, but you can't do them in 30 seconds like you do the vintage one. The vintage Wheeljack is like a 30-minute transformation. So we need to get into the next fun point, walking off the screen. Do they look like they walked off the screen? Well, this one doesn't quite look like it walked off the screen, but it's really, really close. Now, we do kind of have to give up some stuff. You give some stuff up if you're going to try to be SuperTune. I like the SuperTune look. I like the walked off the screen look. The smooth look. It is awesome. And it's what I want in Masterpiece Transformers. It's not what everybody wants, and I understand that. But the fact that these figures look so good, that they look like they walked out of the cartoon. Maybe they walked out of the cartoon into the real world and got hit with a little bit of reality on them. And so maybe they're not as super smooth, and there's a little more detailing. And that is what another crowd of collectors like. I'm kind of in the middle. I can take a little reality in my Transformers, but I do want them to look as toon as possible. And they look great. For the most part, these figures look fantastic. And sometimes there's the argument, too toon to a detriment. Did they look like the cartoon that was poorly drawn, that may look different in 6 different frames, look like 6 slightly different variations of the character? All that's understood. That's fine. But at the end of the day, this stuff does look so good, like it walked off of the screen. And you can argue which company did the better job. That's a good argument. And that's like the next one we really need to get into, and that's competition, and that's options. I still don't think another character has been represented this much at all, by far, as Springer. I don't know why. There's 6 of them. We might eventually see this many Devastators. We might be able to put this graphic together for Devastators. I don't know where Cheem's at lately. Where's he been? This is Cheem's work, and I kind of miss those pictures he used to put together. But for whatever reason, Springer has a lot of options. But this is representative of a lot of characters in the Masterpiece line. Could you imagine this many Springers to choose from when you're a kid? I like Springer number 4, number 7, number 8. Now, you have it in the main line. You have, maybe not this many, but you have quite a few Springer options in the main line at Hasbro since then. But we're talking about 1984 to 1989, 90 era of G1 Transformers, and you only got the one. And if you lost his propeller, you're screwed. Touching on this Springer point, I didn't get a good picture of even myself with him holding these missiles, but it seems like every Springer is required to have the missile. The whole I have better things to do tonight than die missile. You know that missile. It's strange. It is odd. And I think every Blitzwing gets a football, and every Prime gets Energy Axe. It's obligatory at this point. Obligatory can be fun. I don't really know why Springer just falls into this. Maybe it's just all these options fit him very well. He fits into all of this, but the extra options within the figures. Now there's weapons storage, that's fun, but to get these other things like his little arm cannon or arm laser that pops up and shoots. He didn't have that in the Vintage line. You got that in the Masterpiece line. And that's probably one of 100 different examples I, off the top of my head, can think of 2 or a few. Let's get into the next one. This fun stuff that we get with Masterpiece. You didn't get this in G1. When you open up a panel, you've got all of this detail in there. You might have that. You open up the chest panel on good old Wheeljack, you're going to have a little bit, well, it's not, almost no detail, but something going on as a cockpit, because there was a driver originally in its previous life. But you get this little attitude chip, the little emotion chip. I guess I should look up what it's called. You got it in Bad Cube, didn't get it in the Fans Toys one, but this is the kind of stuff that is fun. Well, it's not any fun if you lose it, though, so be careful not to lose these little pieces. And a lot of people have their own way of storing these, like throwing them into baggies or leaving them in the box. Even Prime had his little wrist-com communicator that he could communicate on. I don't know why Megatron's on the screen, but still, this is the fun kind of stuff you get in Masterpiece. Didn't get back in G1. And again, it's almost like you don't have to use your imagination to fill in the gaps. Your imagination is how do you display it to fill out a scene. I want to hear what everybody else thinks about this topic, but not just that. I actually want some people to send in your pictures for the 22,000 subscriber special. We're either there or almost there to the 22,000 subscribers. So thanks to everybody who's liked, subscribed, and commented and sent the pictures in. I'll try to get that link down below in this video and several other videos coming up. That video for the 22K subscriber special. Will probably come in about a week or so. Give people time to last minute get their pictures in. But let me know what you think about this video, the topic of this video. Like and subscribe. Time Durium Hanger out.